Everyone, this is Amy with Simply Elizabeth Crafts, and I am here to do a video on Versamark. I have a customer who wanted me to kind of give some tips and tricks on the Versamark because we did a class. I do a technique class every month, and actually since COVID started, we've kind of slowed down on that class a little bit just with everything else that's going on. But what we did before all of that hit was we did a embossing Versamark class, and these were some of the things that we did. We did on vellum, we inked up, and then did the embossing powder on Versamark. On vellum, my goodness, I can't speak. We also did, this is what I call the seal technique. I honestly have no idea what it's called, but that's what I call it, because you're doing multiple layers of the embossing powder, and then you're literally sticking a stamp and you're putting an impression in it. So it might even be called impression embossing, I'm not sure, but I kind of think of it more of like a seal. So that we did that, and then we also did several other things that I made cards out of and have actually already sent. So anyway, I pulled out what we have with Stampin' Up! And in our catalog, if you actually look at the annual catalog for right now, page 146, you'll see that there is the Stampin' Emboss powder. We sell white, clear, gold, and silver. And then we also have our heating tool, which is very important when you're using the embossing powder, and Versamark, because Versamark's a little stickier, so that helps to dry it a little quicker. And then you also have your Versamark pad with your Versamark refill. So all of that, again, can be found on page 147 of our annual catalog. And what I'm going to do is just kind of go through and do some different techniques with it, because I really feel like Versamark and our embossing powders, or even just our regular ink, there's such a good dynamic of things that you can do with it that if you step kind of outside the box, then it allows you to be a little bit more creative. So first thing we're going to do is we're just going to do some regular embossing. Now, it probably would have helped if I grabbed some blocks, but I apparently had a little brain fart, so let me grab those. It's just right on the other side of the room. Okay, so we're gonna take, and I think I'm just gonna do a sentiment. We're gonna do hello, just because it's small, if I can get it off the... Okay, well that one's not gonna come off, so we're gonna go with to a friend that makes me smile. Apparently my hello is stuck on the case. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to use the embossing buddy. Now, Stampin' Up! Does not sell the embossing buddy anymore, but you can find it anywhere. You can find it at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, Amazon as well. So you just rub it, and this allows you to get all of the oils from your fingers off, and the embossing powder will not stick. So this is just the traditional way that you use Versamark. So we're just gonna stamp it right down here. And then we're gonna take, let's actually take the white embossing powder. And I'm gonna pull that out. All right, and then all I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna actually just put my paper in and just kind of scoop that to go up over it. And I'm going to knock all of that off. You just want to get the excess off from your paper. And then you'll see that there's not a lot of extra around it because I used that embossing buddy. I'm going to do one quick hit on it again. I probably knocked too much off of it. And then if you do have any extra little pieces, you can always use a paintbrush or, your finger or whatever to get that off. All right, so I'm going to close that up now because we do not want to turn on the heat tool and it go everywhere. All right. Now with the Versamark and the embossing powder, I am going to put my heating tool on 2. Stampin' Up, it has 1 and 2. So I want to do 2. And I'm just going to do the top. You can do it from the bottom as well. Totally up to you. And I tell my girls, it's a lot like a hairdryer. You don't, if you move it really quick like this, you're not really allowing the powder to start heating up so that it will turn to our solid, shiny words. Okay, so that's just our typical way of doing it. Now, you can do vellum. So let's do a piece of vellum. And we're going to take a big leaf this time. And we're just going to lay that right on there. All right, I'm going to take my embossing buddy. I might have said that wrong earlier. It's an embossing buddy. We're going to stamp up. We're going to ink up. I'm going to stamp onto the Versamark pad. Ink it up really good. Now, with your vellum, you want to make sure that when you stamp down, you don't want to move your actual stamp. So I'm going to make sure that I'm in the video here for you. Okay, so you just want to go straight down and then straight back up because the vellum is slippery, so you can move your image. And you're trying to avoid that. So that actually turned out pretty good. So I'm gonna do gold for this one. And you're gonna do this the same way, just like you did with the regular paper, except for is you want to be a little careful when you're actually heating it up because your vellum will burn. So where I was saying a second ago, you want to treat it like a hair dryer where you want to kind of keep it on the same spot for a little longer than, a second. This time, we're going to have to move it around a little bit just because we don't want to burn the vellum. And for some reason, there must have gotten some moisture into this one because you see how it's clumping up like that on the spoon? So, all right. We're going to see if it works, but it is clumping up, so I'm not sure why it's doing that. And I think I might have broken that, but all right. Okay. And we're going to put this on 2. I'm going to hold it a little further away. And I'm still going to just move it slowly, just like the hairdryer. But I am keeping it a little further away than normal. And this one will take a minute to start heating up. But when it does, it'll go quick. All right, there we go. Okay, so that is using Versamark and the embossing powder on the vellum itself. Okay, so we've done the traditional and we've done vellum. Now let's kind of do this technique that I call a seal. All right, so with this one, I'm going to use a photopolymer stamp. I am not sure how well the images from your regular rubber stamp will do. I actually have not tested that, but you're more than welcome to test that. But I definitely know that the photopolymer works really well. So we are going to take another block. Let me get this one. Okay, so this technique, I'm just getting some of this powder off my off my table now. That is one thing with your embossing powder. It doesn't matter how hard you try, you're going to get it everywhere. Okay. So we're going to take our Versamark pad, and all I'm going to do is just run it right here over my piece of paper. And you'll notice I didn't use the embossing buddy for this one. I'm not really worried about it on this one because it's going to go everywhere anyway. So yeah. Okay, I think I want to use, we're going to use gold again just because it's more crisp. Actually, you know what? It's a tree. Let's do silver. All right. We're going to do silver. Okay, so all we're going to do now is we're going to take this piece of paper that has lots and lots of Versamark on it. And this one I'm just going to, which by the way is going to give me a heart attack for those of you who know me, I'm going to just pour my silver right on top. I might be a little bit of a I don't like the powders and the dust and all that stuff. I'm a little weird when it comes to it, but I do enjoy embossing. I just don't do it very often because of the mess that it makes. All right, so we're going to pour a little bit more over here. I just want to make sure I do have enough in order to get my tree. Okay. So now I'm going to take my heat tool and I'm going to heat up. I'm going to cover up this though, because Lord have mercy, I would have a heart attack if that went everywhere. All right. So now we're going to heat this up. And this will take a little bit longer because you've got a very large area and your powder is going to be thicker than normal. Do watch your fingers because it can get a little hot. You can also go from up underneath, but it's hard for me to do that with the angle that I'm at, although it seems to be moving a little quicker. All right, I'm going to turn my finger. And then all right, so we have all of that done. I'm going to go up from the top really quick just to make sure it's all good. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Versamark and I'm going to go back over. I'm going to put some more powder on top. So I'm creating multiple levels. And then we're going to dump it back into there. All right, and then we're going to move that again. And this time I'm going to actually move this out the way just so I don't get it everywhere. I'm going to get my stamp ready. And how I get my stamp ready is I'm going to ink it up in some Versamark. Okay, and that's just to give it, honestly, I don't know why. It's what you do in order to, because what we're going to do now is we're going to heat this up again. And this will help, I guess it will more or less help in just embed your stamp into your powder, your embossed piece. And you want to do this quick when you go from let me actually turn that off. When you get this heated up, you literally want to very quickly put your stamp on top of it because you need it to be hot in order to do that embedding into it. Typically also, just so you know, I do about 4 or 5 layers of it, but with the time, I don't want the video to be, you know, 4 hours long. So and I'm leaving the center of it for last because that's where I'm going to put my impression. So that I want to stay hot the longest. Or that's what I want to have the heat on at the end. All right, and now we're going to take and we're going to press down right into that emboss area. And then when we raise up, you have an impression. Now I waited too long apparently to get it there, but you'll see there's the tree. And honestly, it actually looks pretty good even just like that. The more layers that you emboss, the easier it is to actually get a good impression down into it because you've got a lot of layers to go through. So it'll give you that good, deep impression there. So, but that is how you use the Versamark to do a seal technique. All right. Okay. Now, next, let's see. What is the other one? Let's see. Oh, here is this. We're going to go back and use this piece of Pretty Peacock. And what I'm going to actually do on this one is I'm going to clean this stamp really quick. And I'm going to clean the other one because I need to do a line of trees. I'm going to do this line of trees right here. And I'm not sure which block it'll fit on, but we'll see. All right, let's see. Yep, it'll fit on this one good. All right, so let's take this off. We're going to put that on. All right, I'm going to use the embossing buddy. Just kind of wipe through there. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually ink up. Sorry, I got powder everywhere. I'm going to use my, my Whisper White ink. I know this isn't Versamark, but this is still kind of an embossing technique, and I kind of wanted to intermingle what Versamark does versus what Whisper White ink can do as well. So what we're going to do is ink up with the Whisper White. Okay. And you can see it's really messy, but with the Whisper White, it's kind of crazy. We're going to actually take our white. That's what I want to do. So we're going to take the white. We're going to open it up. And so I'm going to stamp down. Now, for those of you who use Whisper White ink a lot, you know that as it dries, it actually gets lighter. It kind of goes into your paper. So you see it's got that, and you see it's a little lighter there. So all I want to do now is I'm going to take and put that into my white. And now it's going to make it bold. Okay. All right. So let's put this back in here. Oop, I'm going at it from the wrong side. Sometimes these get a little on the cranky side, putting those spoons back in. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is close up my ink pad, and I'm going to heat up the trees. So now it also will give it a shine, but with that shine, it's also darker. So I'll stamp the trees again with just the Whisper White, just so you can see the difference on the same piece of paper. All right, so, and with your Whisper White, your stamp, it looks like that. I've never figured out why it does that, but it does. All right, so look at the difference. So that's what embossing with. You could do it with clear, but because that's so light, it would still make it pretty light. And as this dries, it's actually going to seep into that paper a little bit, and so it's not going to be as bold and vibrant. So that's why sometimes when you're using the Whisper White, it's really good to use that embossing powder as well. So that is that. Now, the last thing I have is we're going to do a little bit of regular ink. So I'm going to use, let me just see. I think I've got Night of Navy over here. I do. Okay. So real quick, I'm going to take, let's actually take this tree image again. And I know it'll be in Night of Navy, and I know that trees aren't that color, but it's okay. It's crafting, right? Okay, so first what I want to do is I want to clean. There we go. I want to clean off my stamp. Sorry, I was trying to find it. Okay. Now, the way I do this and is probably a little different than most people. I don't know if I've ever actually seen anybody do it this way, but this is how I do it. It makes sense to me, so this is how I do it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink this up with some Versamark, and you do want to be careful. You do not want to really mix your Versamark with your inks a whole lot. You want to make sure that you're very careful with that. So what I do is I actually come over to the end, and this is just kind of going to help it stay wet a little bit longer for embossing. All right, so then I'm going to stamp down, and then I want to take my clear, and I may have already messed up, but that's okay. We're going to try it. All right, so we're going to take clear. We're going to run it along there. Yep, okay, it worked. Good. That's why I do the Versamark, because the Versamark allowed it to stay wet longer. So now, watch this magnificent. But again, you don't want to do your Versamark in your colored inks very often. You want to make sure that you just be very careful with it, because the Versamark will ruin those pads if you continuously did it over and over again. Okay, so now we're going to heat this up. And now you're going to see that it's, and I'll hold this one up to the camera so you can see it. You can see the shimmer in it. All right. So now you have, and maybe you might not be able to see it, but I hope you can. There's a shine to it. So it's really, really cool, actually. I like doing this part of it. You can also, another really good color to do with this is red. I have done red several times. So, all right, so that is that. And that is Versamark for you. Now, there's probably a million other things you can do with Versamark, but those are kind of the basics that I do for different classes or different techniques or on a regular basis. So if you have any questions, let me know. And I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you found it useful. Again, have questions, let me know. You can either message me on Facebook, or you can even comment on this post and I will respond. So I'll just go through really quick again. This is using Versamark with a color and then using clear on top. And all that does is give it a shimmer. This is using Whisper white ink and then embossing on top. That is just plain Whisper white ink. This is the traditional way. So this is using regular Versamark and then the embossing powder on top. And let's see. Oh, and then here was the one we did where we made the impression into the layers of Versamark. And there's a better view of doing that. And then let's see, we also did on vellum. Let me grab that piece. And then there's on vellum. So again, if you have questions, let me know, and I hope you enjoy the video. Bye.